My world and the world. One day, two brothers, Ganesha and Kartikeya, decided to race 3 times around the world. Kartikeya, being the more athletic, jumped on his peacock and flew around the oceans, the continents, and the stars. The elephant-headed Ganesha simply went around his parents and declared himself the winner. When asked for an explanation, Ganesha said, "I went around my world. You went around the world. Which matters more?" The world is objective. Truth independent of human imagination. My world is subjective. Truth dependent on human imagination. Different people of the world imagine the world differently. The ancient Greeks believe you live only once, and the one who does something extraordinary in his life earns place in the Elysium, the heaven of the heroes. In the Greek world, the gods of Olympus are capricious. They sought to keep the humans in check lest they rose up in revolt. They feared being overthrown by humans, just as they had overthrown the Titans and the Titans had overthrown the giants before them. Heroes were the men who did extraordinary things despite of the odds thrown in their direction by the fate, who in turn was controlled by the gods. Greek epics spoke of fathers who tried to kill their sons, who prophesied to kill them, and of sons who rose up against their father, and God and authority fought the monsters created by them, and after many an adventure achieved the impossible to become heroes worthy of praise and adoration. Glory lay in the defiance of authority and transgression of rules. This is the recurrent theme in the stories of Hercules, Theseus, Jason, and Achilles. The Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam also speak of one life followed by an afterlife, but the world imagined by them is very different from the one of ancient Greeks. The biblical world referred to a kind and loving God who cared for his creation and whose children kept breaking the rules he asked them to follow. So we have the story of the transgression of Adam and Eve, and of the various prophets like Moses, king like David, who struggled to uphold the commandments of God and make others follow them in faith. Glory here lay in obedience. It gets you not to the Elysium of heroes, but to what the Quran Sharif refers to as Jannat for the faithful. Now, who is right? Should life be about difference or compliance? About breaking the rules or following the rules? If the question was asked to a rishi from India, he would ask, why should the answer be this or that? Why can the answer not be this and that? He would say, both are alright depending on the context. So, Hindu mythology has both Krishna who breaks the rules and Ram who follows them. Krishna belongs to the Dwapar Yuga and Ram belongs to the Treta Yuga, but are not Krishna and Ram two very different characters? Not at all. The Rishi would say they are the two lifetimes of Vishnu, who is considered to be the preserver of the world. The Rishi believed in rebirth. He believed we do not live just one life, we live infinite lives, one after the another, again and again. Death is not a full stop, it is only a comma. And so, you have the option of living one life in defiance and one life in compliance, depending on whether the father or the authority or the deity or the life is cruel like the Olympian gods or caring like the God of Abraham. This view is shared by most religions of Indian origin, including Jainism and Buddhism. Refusal to acknowledge these imagined realities, these my versions of the world, is the root cause of cultural intolerance, human insensitivity, and the clash between civilizations. It happened once 2300 years ago on the bank of the river Indus. There, Alexander the Great, after having conquered Persia, found what he called a gymnosophist, or a wise man. He was perhaps a Jain Muni or perhaps a yogi who sat on a rock and meditated all day and gazed at the stars and the constellations all night. "What are you doing?" asked Alexander. "Experiencing nothingness," said the sadhu. Then the sadhu asked, "What are you doing?" Alexander replied, "I am conquering the world." Both of them laughed and parted ways, each thinking the other to be a fool. For Alexander, the denominator of life was only one, so the value of his existence was the sum total of his achievements. Therefore, conquering the world was more important to him. For the sadhu, the denominator of life was infinity. So, the value of his existence, no matter what he did, was zero. So, reflecting on the world and seeking the meaning by experiencing nothingness was more important to him. Then who was right, Alexander or the sadhu? What is right? One life or rebirth? Intolerance stems from valuing one imagined reality over other. Significantly, science, in its quest for the objective truth, aligns itself with one life subjective truths. But which one, Greek or Abrahamic? Alexander's subjective truth works for those who want to conquer the world, but there are many who are not interested. They only follow their dharma or their goodwill towards others.